Good morning. Welcome to Workforce Skills with John Morse. Another Monday morning. Oh, wait a minute. It's not Monday morning. It's Wednesday. It's been an interesting week this week. So I'm glad you guys are joining me. I know this drops on Thursday. We're recording late today on Wednesday. It's been a tough week. But one thing I want to ask you guys, if you're watching this, I know we're getting a lot of viewers. This podcast is blowing up. If you guys could like and subscribe, it helps me. It lets me know who's watching. It helps me to continue with this content. But it's been a stressful week. It's normally I'm in here recording every Monday morning. Today it's a Wednesday. I'm a little off. It's a little bit different. It's been one of the most stressful weeks I've had in quite some time. Had a vacation about 4 weeks ago, came back, had a great time, and I've just been grinding nonstop. I've been in beast mode every single day, pushing, grinding, doing what I need to keep the business running. But there's just a certain point to where the stress level gets so high. And how do you deal with that? It's interesting as a business owner and what I'm doing and trying to help people out. Every Monday and Tuesday night, I'm back to teaching the life skills class at a place called New Freedom out here, helping men and women out, get back into the workforce. That is one of my biggest goals. So Monday and Tuesday, I'm typically at my office and shop about 4:30 in the morning, and I don't get home till 9 o'clock at night. It makes for a very long day, 2 days in a row. And that means came off of 2 days like that. Wednesdays are my toughest days. It's the hardest day to get through. And I am just getting bombarded. I'm trying to get my billing done for the month. I'm trying to deal with multiple situations on different jobs that we're having problems with. And it is stressful. So how do you deal with the stress? How do you deal with all the stuff that's going on around you and everything's falling apart and you have to stay in control? And it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner or you're on a job site or you're a crew lead or a superintendent or a project manager. You've got to deal with some of this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And the stress that we deal with, the levels of it, a few years back, I was overweight. I was 315 pounds. I was on blood pressure medication. I was going through a lot of stuff. And what I started doing was changing my eating habits. I stopped drinking coffee. I started exercising. I started walking. I'm going to the gym. I got a personal trainer. I'm doing everything I can to better myself physically. And to deal with the stress, you have to find those moments of, I guess, what we'd call self-care. How do you take care of yourself? How do you almost have to step back and get away from everything. Maybe it's on a weekend, you turn your phone off for the day. For me, I helped teach a hands-on painting class on Saturday. My only day off was Sunday. For me, I just shut down. I didn't answer my phone. I left it in the room. I walked away from it. I didn't even want to see my phone. If I got a phone call, I wasn't let it ring. It's just going to go. I'm not going to check it till later. I had to shut down. Sunday, the temperature dropped a little bit. We weren't 110 like we were a few days ago. It was only about 99 degrees and, went to the swimming pool, went shopping early, took the dogs to the dog park. Me and my wife went out for a nice afternoon to get away from the house and sometimes just sitting at home, I get bored. I got to be doing something. I got to be reading a book, watching a documentary or doing something. And it was time for us just to get out and do something together. It was our day just to spend time with each other and not worry about anything else but just us. And it's difficult. We go through that grind every single day. Now, there's a lot of people out there, they're a time clock. They're punching in, punching out. While they're at work, that's it. When they're not at work, they're done. They don't think about work. They don't deal with it. And sometimes that's just your worker bee. That's a person that's going to get out there and get the job done. But there's a different breed of people out there. There's a certain type of person that wants to level up. The people that are grinding and pushing and getting to that next level. They want to become that superintendent. They want to become an estimator, project manager, or they want to move up into upper management at a grocery store if that's where you're working at. Those are the people that are going to keep pushing. Those are the ones that bring the stress home. Those are the ones that really deal with those high level decisions, the high level of stress, and it can be very, very difficult. I don't want to be stuck on blood pressure meds the rest of my life. I'm not on them anymore. I had my blood pressure checked on Monday. I was 122/80. Wonderful. It's perfect. I don't need anything, but I'm doing all the right things to take care of myself and make sure that I'm maintaining my sanity. In class last night, I was teaching these men and women, Part of what we do, it's got to be a connection of mind, body, and soul. It all has to align together. Now, when it comes to your soul and what you believe in, I don't care whether you believe in God or you're an agnostic or what your religious belief is, but you have to take care of your soul. All three have to connect. And the body, it's the way you eat, it's exercising, it's taking care of yourself. Your body is your temple. It's everything. It's we've got to maintain that. And then there's the mind. And the mind can play tricks on us. I think the our mind is our worst enemy. We have to be able to educate ourselves. We have to be able to control ourselves. I think a lot of people are very emotional people. They let their feelings get in the way. And I think if we could start making more logical decisions, then that's not going to be an issue. So having the mind, the body, the soul all lined up together, all on the same page, all working together, all for the common good of what you need in your life. I want to make sure men and women working for me, the guys working for me, that they are in a safe space. They're mentally stable, they're physically stable, they're emotionally stable, and that can be difficult. And it's not always easy to keep the stress levels where they need to be. This week, like I said, it's been difficult for me. There's a lot going on in the office. There's a lot happening behind the scenes that a lot of the men and women working for me don't even know that's going on, that they don't even understand. And it's not stuff that needs to be shared out there. I don't need to air out my laundry of whatever I'm dealing with at work, but just explaining to you guys that there is a lot of stress. There's situations happening that I'm having to deal with. Running a business is not an easy task. It's funny. People think, oh, you just sit there and count your money. No, it's not just that. It's looking at everything, the decisions you have to make. And it's funny, as people have moved up in position working for me, I've had people come in the office as estimators, or they become superintendents and are in the office a lot more. They're here for meetings. And they're like, oh my God, John, I didn't realize you did this much. I didn't realize there was this much involved running a business. And it's funny because I've had people work for me before and they've gone off and started their own thing. And I remember one specifically. He was a superintendent for me years ago. He worked for me for about 4 years, and he ended up quitting. He got frustrated, got upset, and left. And he's out there doing his own thing. And we're still friends on Facebook, and I see different posts and different things. And people don't understand what it's like to be a contractor, and it's tough running your own business. And I'm thinking to myself, in the state of Arizona, we have to be licensed, bonded, insured. There's a certain process, certain way to do it, to be a legitimate company and pay taxes and do all this stuff. And he's not doing that. And I know he's not doing that. And I see that he's not doing that. And it's funny because I look at this and I think, you don't even know what it's like. You're running your own thing out of your house, your garage. And I get that there are some legit companies out there that do that. But, out here we have these fly by night people that they're not licensed contractors. They're not legally able to contract and do the work like they should. But yet they claim that they're a business owner or they ran their own business. I'll get someone coming in here and filling out an application and, oh yeah, I ran my own business. I did my own thing. Oh, okay. What was the name of your company? Oh, such and such LLC. And I'm, well, were you licensed, bonded, insured? Well, no, but I ran my own business. Well, if you're not licensed, bonded, insured in the state of Arizona, it's not running a business. Anybody can just get up and get it in an LLC. It's very simple. It's very easy, and start their own thing. But to do it legitimately and have employees and have payroll and pay taxes, it gets very, very difficult. When you have 100 employees plus, trust me, most people don't even understand the stress you're going through. And the stress that I have to think about is I want to make sure that every single one of my employees is able to pay their rent. They're able to buy food. They're able to buy a house, finance a car. They're able to buy their kids' birthday and Christmas presents. I want to make sure that everybody that works for me is successful. And in order to do that, I have to make sure that they have a paycheck every single Friday. And the amount of payroll for the amount of employees I have it's very large. It's a very huge nut to carry every single week. And not just that, but the amount of materials we're buying. And then I'm negotiating pricing with my vendors between Sherwin-Williams, Dunn Edwards, PPG, Benjamin Moore Paints. I mean, we use everybody. When it comes to the specifications on a job, we only use who's specified on that project. So we stay true to the specifications. So we use everybody. I don't have a favorite paint manufacturer that I use. I like them all. And my reps are always coming in the office. And not only that, but we're also using scissor lifts and booms. Now, we own 2 of our own scissor lifts, but we also rent equipment. We also have to rent a Connex, a storage facility for certain jobs that go on for a lengthy period of time. So there's all that, and there's negotiating those prices and making sure everything's on schedule, making sure everything's being on the job at the right time. It's very, very difficult. And as we've grown as a company, I've put responsibilities on other people. There's Greg, who I've taken on as a partner in the business. He's part owner of the business now. There's the project managers, there's the estimator, superintendents. Everybody has duties to do. And the one thing that we do in our business is we write a process for every process. So no matter what each person is doing, they know exactly what their job is, what the process is, and it's written out and it's explained specifically of what their duties are and how they're going to do it. It has to be that way. There has to be direction. There has to be some form of structure. And that's what we've done over the years. We've created that structure. So no matter who steps in that position, there's consistency with everything that we do. When it comes to estimating, once the job is bid and we land a contract, and we might bid a job that's out to bid and we're taking off blueprints, we might bid one job for 5 different general contractors, hoping to land it with one of them. We land that job. Now there's a process. The estimator has a certain process he has to do to go through the contract signing phase, and then it gets passed off to the assistant project manager. Then there's drawdowns, and it also gets passed off to either myself or Greg, and we do the signing of the contract. We go through it, we redline, make sure everything's in there that needs to be, or what needs taken out that they're trying to get us to do. And trust me, there's a lot of GCs that slip some stuff in there just to get you to do it, and it's not part of our contract or part of our scope of work. Then there's the process of the front office. Every job we get, we file a lien waiver on, pre-lien. And then you got to get insurance certs to the GC for each specific job. There's so much involved. At the end of the day, I step back and I look at all this and I think, I wouldn't trade this for anything. I love what I do. I love all the chaos, all the stress, all the detail that's put into every single project. I wouldn't change it for anything. And it's funny how time has gone on. And there was a time where, I might have said this before in a previous podcast, but someone asked me one time, well, John, how big do you want to get? I thought about it for a minute and I said, you know what? I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there. I still don't know where there is. I'm still not at the top where I want to be. I want to continue to grow, continue to build the business. And the bigger we get, the more processes we write, the more structure we have to put in place. The more superintendents, the more estimators. We're currently building a new office area for an estimating department because we want to add 4 more estimators to our group that we already have currently. That's part of growth and expanding and projecting. And it just, the detail and the ideas and the thoughts that go into this every single day. There is not a moment during the day that I'm not thinking about my business or work or what we're doing. And it's funny when guys move up in position, how they start doing that. I lose sleep over this. There's some nights I can't sleep. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I just can't sleep. I'm checking emails. I go to the computer at home, which is connected here to work. And I'm doing stuff that just, it's quiet time. I can get things done by myself in the middle of the night. And it's funny when somebody moves up in position and all of a sudden they say, man, this job's bothering me so much. I'm not sleeping. I'm losing sleep. I'm like, that's the point when you know that you care and that stress level has hit you. Because when you hit that moment to where you're losing sleep over your job because you care so much and you don't want to fail and you want it to be successful and you want it to go the way it's supposed to, that shows to me that you care about what you're doing. You're focused on the process. You want to make sure every detail is in place. And it's not a bad thing. And I think that there's always the haters out there that listen to the podcast, or when I drop the shorts out there on different platforms and they put their snide comments out there, well, pay them more, do this. And well, it's not their business. Why should they feel this way? I know I'm going to get some backlash on this. But the bottom line is that tells me that this person cares about their job. They care about what they're doing. They're focused on making it work the way it's supposed to. And that's what we're looking for. I'm looking for the men and women that care so much about their job that it affects their personal life. Not in a bad way. I don't mean that. Don't take it that way. What I mean is it affects their personal life to where they're starting to think about work when they're not at work. And then they start thinking, well, what can I do to better myself at work? Now they're thinking about taking a course. Okay, I got a couple guys, they want to take project manager courses. I'm all for that. I want them to do that. That shows that they're willing to invest in themselves. They're willing to invest in the company. And these are there's two guys that have brought that to my attention. And I look at these two, and that shows me that I know their stress level is a little bit higher. I know this because I see the level of what they're doing. And each move that you make in the company as you grow and you move up in position, you're going to have different stress levels. It's going to get worse the higher you get up in the company. Now, for some reason, you'll run across a person here and there that nothing affects them, nothing stresses them out. They just take the punches as they come. They roll with the flow. They're just moving and grooving as they're doing their thing, and it just works. Some people can handle high levels of stress and it doesn't affect them. But then we take an internal look, and I felt like I was that way at one time, and it started affecting me physically. My health. Here I am thinking I can handle all this stress. I can handle everything. Next thing you know, my health is bad. I got high blood pressure and everything else is hitting me. So even the people that really look like they're handling it, I guarantee you in the background, when they're not at work, they're probably stressed out. Some people, they're going to go out and drink. That's how they deal with stress. That's not me, and that's not the people around me. I believe in a sober group. I believe in my sobriety and what I need to do to stay focused and where I'm at. That's what I need to do. So you find ways to deal with it. Maybe it's going to the gym and working out. Maybe it's going for a run after work. Maybe it's going for a walk, or maybe it's just taking your dog to the dog park. Whatever you have to do to relieve that stress. And I think the good thing for me is I'm very fortunate to have a wife that understands what I go through, that works in the business, and she can see what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So she understands the stress. Even today, I apologize to her for being a little short today in the office, and there's just so much going on. It's a little overwhelming. And it's good to have somebody that I feel she is part of my support system. She's a part of my support network that's there. She understands what I'm going through. But at the same time, I have to understand her and the stress she's dealing with, because she's the one sending off all the certificates of insurance. She's dealing with all the other general contractors' offices, getting all the contracts emailed over. When I'm done with all the billing, she sends it to them. She deals with all the waivers. It's a very stressful job. So I have to be careful of what she's going through and be aware of that. But for us that don't, or you out there that don't work with your wives or family members, when you come home, you can't take that stress out on your family. You can't take it out on the people that we love or the people that are closest to us. And I think that's where a lot of times we make that mistake. I've done it in the past. The people closest to us are the ones that get hurt the most. And I think it's because we're the most comfortable with them. We don't have to worry about what we think or we say. We just be ourselves. And I think sometimes we need to keep ourselves in check. We can't let our feelings and our emotions and our stress from work come home and affect our relationships with our spouses, with our kids, with our neighbors, with anybody around us. We have to be aware of that. And I think the best way to do that is share with them what you're going through at work. Share the problems, share the stress. Hey, at work, I'm dealing with this right now. And you know, they might not understand everything that you're doing at work. They might not understand the job, but listen to the advice they give you. Listen to and you might say, well, it's not advice. That's just their opinion. They don't understand. They don't know. And I've thought that way at one time or another with different things that my wife would tell me or other people would tell me, but I also have to take it with a grain of salt. I also have to say, you know what? They don't understand what I'm going through, but I've shared enough information with them that they can give me an opinion or some form of advice. And I need to think about it. I need to think it because it's a different perspective. They're an outsider looking in, and there can be some great value to what they're giving you. But you also have to question yourself and say, am I giving them all the information? Am I sharing the whole story or the situation at work so they can give me the best advice, their best opinion? So don't say, nah, you don't understand. You don't know what I'm going through as they're giving you advice and opinions if you haven't given them all the information so they can understand what you're dealing with. Stress can be disastrous. It can cause you to have high blood pressure. It can cause you to get sick. I think stress and being upset at work or dealing with tough situations can make you physically sick. It can cause you to catch a cold faster. That's just my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you how it actually works, but I do think that the stress, the things you deal with, everything you're going through in life can affect you physically, mentally. When I talk about your mind, your body, your soul has to be aligned, it really does. And when something's out of whack, it can screw up all three different directions of what's happening in your mind, your body, and your soul. So you have to stay in control. You have to be able to maintain it, but you got to ask for help. You got to talk to people. There's nothing I hate worse than I got a couple guys working for me. John, I'm a man. I can do it on my own. No, we got to do this together. You're having a problem. You're dealing with something at work. Come talk to me. I want you to share with me. My door is always open. I want to discuss the things that you're dealing with. So maybe I can give you some advice. Maybe I can help you. Or maybe what you're going through, I'm dealing with at the same time and I don't know how to deal with it. And between the two of us, we can talk this out. We can hash it out. We can come up with a game plan on different ways that we can handle a situation. There is truth in numbers. There is something to be said about a bigger group, a bigger collective coming together for the greater good of everybody. And if we can sit there and discuss our problems, talk about it, deal with it, and move forward, we become stronger for it. We become better for it. That's what you need in your life for success. You have to have that support. You have to have that social support network. You have to have a group of people that you can rely on that's going to be there for you, no matter what you're going through. And even this morning, talking with Greg in the office, I even told him, I had him take over one of the billing things. I was getting really stressed. We're dealing with a GC that I wish all GCs did all their billing the same. It would make things so much simpler, because we've got GCs that do it on multiple different platforms. And if everybody would do it the same, it would be simple. But this one GC is completely different than anything I've ever billed, anything I've ever done. And I got frustrated and I thought I saved it. It saved a different way and deleted part of it. And I threw my hands up and Greg came in and said, John, you're getting frustrated. You're stressed. Let me take over for you. Let me see if I can do this. I said, fine, please do. And I'm not embarrassed to say that I can't do it or, it became overwhelming. I think because my stress level is a little bit high, I gave up. I kind of said, you know what, fine, threw my hands up, you take over. But that's okay because I know when he's having problems, he's stressed, there's times where I can step in and take over for him as well. We have each other's back. And that's the great things about friendships and partnerships in business. He is a friend of mine. He is a partner in this business. He's part owner in this business. We do this together. I trust him complicitly with this business and what we do. And it's funny because he grew up in this business. He started as a painter working for me many, many years ago. And it's so funny how we think alike. Coming to work this morning, I'm driving with my wife on the way and we're talking about different things. And we're talking about a situation at work with the scissor lifts and booms and something we're dealing with one of our vendors. And our guys aren't taking care of things. They're not fueling them up before they get picked up. And so I came in, I pulled Greg aside and I go, hey man, I think we need to bring up in our morning meeting this. He goes, oh, that's so funny you bring that up. I was just talking with a bunch of the guys about that and we were already discussing that, but we'll bring it up in a meeting. He goes, it's so weird how we think alike. And that's the great thing with him working with me for so long and us being partners in this business. It's almost like we think just like each other. We see everything in the business and we see it very like-minded. And it makes everything work so much better, so much smoother when you have a partner or a business owner that thinks like you and you're in sync with each other. It makes a huge difference. It really does help with the stress around here. And just knowing that, and this podcast studio is in our office. We built this a few months back. And it's interesting because I was just getting done with him. I said, Greg, come on, let's go. He goes, where are we going? I want you to be on the podcast. I need a partner. He's no. He's not ready to come on with me, but eventually I'm going to get him on here so you guys can meet him and see who I keep talking about. He's a great individual. He's like a son to me, honestly. He's done very, very well in this business, and I'm very proud of where he's come and what he's accomplished in his life. And he does help me when I'm going through the stress, as well as my wife, and we do the same for each other. I do the same for them. We're all going through something. And as you're going through your problems, going through your situations, you don't know what somebody else is dealing with. So keep an open mind when someone's getting frustrated and upset. It might not be towards you. It could be everything else they're dealing with that built up to that, and they're frustrated over everything else. So don't take it personal when someone's frustrated and getting upset or they look like they're stressed. It's not you most of the time. It's everything else that they're dealing with. You just happen to be the one that's there. And speaking of that, the same thing, back to what I said earlier, we have a tendency to treat the people closest to us, our family members, the worst because we're the most comfortable around them. They're the people that we can be ourselves around. So when we get stressed, we get frustrated, we do take it out on them. And I'm sure we say some things that we probably regret. And we need to apologize for that. We need to say, I'm sorry. I did not mean that the way it came out. I'm just really stressed. I'm dealing with this stuff at work. I'm dealing with this situation. I did not mean it to come off the wrong way. So respect each other. Think about what you're going to say to each other. We're a family here. We have to work as a family. We have to work together and treat each other as such. For some people, you're going to be around the people at work more than you are your own family. And those are the people that you'll hurt or say something that you should not. So as you go through your week, through your days, and you're dealing with stress, think about how you're dealing with it. Find a way to self-care. Find a way to relax and get rid of the stress. Find something that's going to keep you calm. And whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's walking your dog to the park, going to the gym, you find something that helps you. And you need that in your life. You can't just work, go home, sit on the sofa, watch TV, do nothing. You have to do something to keep your sanity, basically. So once again, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. It helps us track this. It helps us keep going. If you got comments or there's something that you got questions for me, you want to ask something, please reply, put a note on there, say something on one of the platforms this drops, and I will personally answer back to you. But once again, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. I appreciate every single one of you. Stay hungry.